Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Bases Loaded. It is just Chris and I today. It is going to be a vent session because our teams have chosen they don't want to score runs. They're just choosing to play absolutely terrible here lately. It's beyond frustrating for me because the Diamondbacks were 16 games over 500, had a
Yeah.
3-game lead on the Los Angeles Dodgers on June 1st. And
And how'd
we're
that
here
work
about
out?
2 months later. We're 1 game under 500, and we're like 6 games back of the Dodgers. It is beyond
Six.
infuriating.
You're 11 games behind the Dodgers.
Oh, sorry. I don't know why. I think I was thinking 6 behind the Giants. Oh no, Giants are 6 games back. Like,
Yeah.
like, like this is absolutely they they do this every year. Dodgers kind of just they're okay. They're 500 the first 2 months, and then they trade for guys that they literally gave nothing up for. But their player development staff in Los
Yeah.
Angeles is I'm sorry. I like you cannot say it's not good when so many guys go there that are struggling that
Yeah.
have just they revitalize their careers. Like we see it. Lance Lynn, I think, has had 2 starts since he got there, and he's looked
JD
amazing.
Martinez, like you could just run through this list of guys that have gone to LA and all of a sudden like found it. And
That's why
it's very
Noah
frustrating when
Syndergaard
you're a
went
fan of another
there.
team in the division. Yeah.
Like Noah went there, and they're like, "Yeah, we can't fix you. Your arm's done." Um, it's just crazy. Like it's just crazy to me. And then they got Ahmed Rosario, and he's been phenomenal since he got there.
Yeah.
They got Kike back, and he's been phenomenal. Like it's just like you're just like, why? Why do they have to constantly be good? Because they can afford to get the best of the best in these support positions. Like I
Yeah.
I don't know if you can throw anyone else out there that has the best player development group in the entire Major League Baseball.
I mean, you could give a lot of credit to a team like the Giants too, who overperform with like not as much talent as other teams year in and year out. And I mean, they're proving it again this year, like in the thick of the wild card race and putting
Yeah.
themselves in a position right now. So it's like every year I look at that Giants team, and we look at the one a couple of years ago that won 100 plus games. Like and they were not built for that many wins, and yet there they were doing it. So I mean, yeah, you've got to tip your cap to organizations like that, as frustrating as it is that we share a division with them. But yeah, I thought this podcast was everyone that's under 500 was allowed. That was it.
That's why Blake's not on today, y'all. We cannot have a team that likes to score runs and is over 500 on the podcast today. So we're like, nope, Blake, you can take a week off. We don't need you to rub it into our faces that one of your players hits a ninth inning grand slam against arguably the best reliever we've seen all
Yeah.
year. Like,
To
and
be
the
fair, I watched the game yesterday. The Astros lost, so I watched Brown pitch, and he looked good overall, but then kind of struggled late and got pulled. So sorry about that, Blake. I did watch them lose yesterday, so that was probably my fault knowing my luck with baseball right now.
and the thing is, I think Texas hasn't really looked. Texas is still. They have a little bit of a lead on Houston. It's only 2.5, so it's not like anything to write home about. It's something that if Texas has a slide for a week, it's I mean that's gone. So like they really cannot keep their foot off the gas pedal. Um, Scherzer in his first start for them, like the first 2 innings, he didn't look good, but he kind of wrote the ship and had a solid outing there.
Well, and I
But
mean, the last time we really talked was when the Rangers got swept by the Padres, and it's like, look at the fortunes of both of those teams since. Texas rattled off 8 straight wins after that. And so like, yes, we were talking, oh no, is now the downfall of them, but they came back. I mean, sure, 2 of 3 were against the A's, and then they swept the lovely White Sox and beat a really decent or swept a really decent Marlins team as well. But like this was kind of that stretch that I know Blake was talking about, expecting them to kind of fall back down, and I think it's like a 2.5 game difference right now, so they're
Yeah.
definitely close there. But yeah, I mean the Rangers I think are going to have a really interesting series this weekend in SF against the Giants. I know it's probably going to mean a little something to Bruce Bochy going back up there somewhere where he had so much success, but that's going to be a pretty big series for them this weekend.
Yeah, like when you look at the Giants roster, though, you're like, no one's like, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm scared to pitch to that guy. But I've seen him a lot lately. Patrick Bailey, their catcher, their young catcher,
Yeah,
has a
amazing.
cannon. Do not try and run. The Diamondbacks lost the game because they got picked off at first because of that. And it wasn't like Geraldo Perdomo wasn't paying attention. He just got off a little bit too far,
Yeah,
and Bailey has a cannon. So like just like losses like that, you're just like, you gotta stay focused. Like you gotta stay focused. I went to the Diamondbacks game on Tuesday. They played the Dodgers 5-4. Bottom of the ninth. Corbin Carroll's on base.
how was the crowd?
Fuck you. I fucking hated it. I walked in there. It's Dodger Stadium East, y'all. Like every time they come to Chase Field, I don't think it would be as bad as the Diamondbacks weren't on the slide that they are. I feel like a lot of Diamondback fans are really Dodger fans, and when the Dodgers come to town, they put on their Dodger gear and they are loud. Also,
Yeah.
they don't know how to read a fly ball. They think
Oh,
every
never.
fly
Not at Dodger
ball,
Stadium, not at any other stadium they watch.
like it's ridiculous. Like it's a routine fly ball, and they get excited as if it's going to be a home run, and you're just like, no, y'all. Like I get the sound makes it seem like that, but if you see the guy jogging after he hits it, or no one's sprinting, like the outfielder's not sprinting, I don't think it's a home run, y'all. So it's just one of the many things. Again, I don't hate the franchise of the Dodgers that much. I hate their fans. Their fans are obnoxious. Um, I know a couple Dodger fans that aren't obnoxious and I can have a good conversation with. I actually went with a coworker who is a Dodgers fan. It wasn't that bad. He doesn't rub it in my face too much. You know who did rub it in my damn face this series? David Peralta. How freaking dare you? Tuesday robs a 2-run home run that would have basically won the game for us late. And then Wednesday, his hit in the 8th inning ends up being the game-winning hit. And you're just like, why? Like you couldn't go anywhere else. You had to go to the Dodgers. Like you know how much the fan base that loves you hates that franchise. But you decided to go because no one else had given you a contract. I get it. They were the only ones, and you wanted to continue to play, and he's looked really good because that
I was
player
gonna say
development.
the magical player development in LA. It's definitely not cheating. Definitely not.
We don't have any solid proof. So
I said definitely not. Like,
so
But but yeah, obviously, man, like I know you went to the game, but I just couldn't bear to go to any of the games. Like I had some stuff going on this weekend, so I couldn't make any of and we had a
you're like,
weird Monday afternoon game, but
I don't know
yeah,
why
I
they do
was
that with a 4-game series and then they have it start on Friday. I'm like, just start it on Thursday. It's so
yeah, it's like we
weird.
both had an off day before. I don't get it, but anyways, it happened the way it did. Really frustrating series, honestly, because Friday, game one, bullpen just massive struggles against the Dodgers late. They scored what, like 6, 7 runs in the one inning there and kind of broke that thing open, which was a Padre lead. Saturday, some more frustration, some opportunities that were missed. Sunday was brutal, especially being on national TV on ESPN.
Dig
I think the
Mountain
one
struggled, y'all.
well, so he did, but let's remember that call at home plate, the blocking of the plate.
Oh yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
I was gonna say that's a conversation where it is because obviously they scored. I think they had a 3-run homer after that, so that really broke the game open, and that really changed everything in that game. But I didn't watch it live. I went back and watched the replay. I was actually out running an errand, so I was listening to my beloved Jesse Agler on the radio, and he was like, judging by the rule of baseball, if the infielder is in and he is in movement like within the grass prior to contact, like there's no catcher interference allegedly. Obviously not the case. So that was a tough pill to swallow. And then we'll get into that in a second. But then Monday, taking an early lead, looking really great, and just letting Seth Lugo just die out there on the mound as the Dodgers scored 8 runs in 1 inning. It was tough, man. And then you follow it up with just 2 lackluster performances in Seattle, and Juan Soto talking about how it feels like we just give up and quit during games. Like it's rough.
Yeah. Buster Posey, I fucking hate you. That rule is so stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's
And it's
absolutely
screwed us like 3
ridiculous.
times this year.
Like I get why they came out with it because it completely fucked up his knee, but the rule is stupid. Like if the ball's thrown, the catcher should be able to block the plate. And to my understanding, yes, infield's in. There's no not blocking the plate. And I don't think the umpires. I don't think they need to clarify the rule. That's the issue. I don't think all of the umpires and the players and the coaches know like what is the rule. But to my
And
understanding,
apparently the replay center in New York does not either. So what the hell are they trained on?
yeah, like that rule has fucked the Padres 3 times this year, twice at least.
Yeah. 3 times, yeah. And I think
Like,
Gary Sanchez was catching all of those.
Yes, Gary Sanchez hates that rule. Like, the way these guys have been playing baseball their entire career was you block the plate.
Yeah.
Like, I think they just need to make sure it known. Infield in, they can block the plate. I mean, Gary Sanchez in that game on Sunday did a phenomenal job.
I mean, he's done a phenomenal job since he showed up. Somehow he's the greatest catcher we've had in like 20 years, just showing up and playing half a season. And with his bat, I mean, he's obviously not the best behind the dish, but you know, he's good. He's obviously him and Blake Snell have a great connection, which is great to see. So yeah, I mean, super happy with what we've seen from El Gary so far, but just an incredibly frustrating team to watch right now. The most amazing thing of it all is this season feels dead in the water. We lost 4 straight. And I think we've only lost like a half game in the wild card chase because everybody else is just
Marlins
on
are playing
struggle
like crap.
island.
Diamondbacks, Reds are playing like crap. Like the only teams that really aren't playing terrible for the wild card right now, Cubs, Phillies, and Giants.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if it's those 3 teams. Like,
yeah, well,
I don't know
you say
what
the
happened
Giants
with
playing well, but they lost the last 2 against Anaheim and probably should have lost game 1 if it wasn't for that 6-run ninth inning that they rallied. So it's like, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens down the stretch because a lot of these teams, if they don't click, somebody, I mean, even the Mets at 7 games back, if all of these teams just continue to falter, if they get hot, like they could jump a lot of these teams. So that's why it's just
hilarious if the
we're
Mets
this really
somehow
interesting.
get it.
We're in this really interesting like area right now, and you guys are too, where it's like it feels like the season is over. Like the last month has been god awful, but yet somehow you're 2.5 out. We're 4.5 out. Like it's not like the season's over. So the good thing is we get to play each other, so somebody has to actually win, right?
Right. Yes. Someone's
Guys aren't
going to
allowed
get
anymore, right?
I don't think so. I'm not sure there. I just still actually now I know why the Cubs are where they are. They're scoring like crazy.
Oh yeah.
We got 2019 Cody Bellinger back. I bet he loves that. He's going to get a massive payday this offseason because he signed a 1-year deal. It could be by the Cubs. It could be by the Yankees. He's not going back to LA because they got their center fielder of the future and James Outman, who's been tearing it up the last 6 weeks for them. So, but Cody Bellinger is, to be honest, this is what I thought might happen. I didn't think it'd be this drastic. I thought he just needs a new place to play and maybe he can get his groove back. I think he'd do it like almost MVP type level
Yeah.
with what he's done. Cubs are only 2.5 back in the Central, and in the wild card, they are half a game back, so they're right there. It's weird. Like 6 weeks ago, everyone was like, "Oh, Cubs gonna be one of the bigger,"
Biggest
uh,
sellers, yeah.
and then they won. I think on like a 10-game win streak, or they won like 9 out of 10. And then all of a sudden, they were like at 500, and like, yeah, we're not selling. And they couldn't sell Marcus Stroman because Stroman has been
Yeah.
bad lately. So they're like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe
But
that's good.
yeah, I mean the Cubs this month. I mean, if you remember, they started with 36 runs in 2 games against the Reds. They swept the Reds, which is the most important thing they can do in this chase right now is
Yep.
beat teams that they're battling against. They took 2 of 3 from Atlanta. They lost 2 or 3 to the Mets, but their schedule coming up, they've got Toronto this weekend, which will be a tough series in Toronto. But then they've got the White Sox, the Royals, the Tigers, and the Pirates. Those are not good teams. Like that
Those
is
are
a
the teams you beat
real
up on.
chance. That's what you have to do in these situations. If the Cubs can go like 600 maybe as a winning percentage over that streak, like I think they can put themselves in a really good position to get a playoff spot. And I mean, right after that, they play Milwaukee. That could be 3 big games of the division on the line.
Yeah. To be honest, I like when the Cubs are good. I do. They're just one of those teams where when the Cubs are good, just the whole game of baseball benefits. Um,
See, I would agree with you until they won a World Series. Before they won a World Series, it was just fun because it was the underdog story. And now, no,
it's
they're ahead
not
of us. I can care
anymore.
less. I can care less.
Um, so it's interesting if you look at the expected win loss record, you guys should be at the top for the wild card. Like it's
Yeah,
just
it's an 8 game difference, right?
yeah. They're supposed to be 63 and 52 based on their run differential, but they're 55 and 60. That like if we look back at the Dodger series, I think it was Saturday that eighth. Like if you take out that eighth inning, that just where they gave up a bunch of runs, uh, they split the series. But they also had one like that.
Well, no. So Saturday was the 8th inning where the Padres scored 7 runs in the eighth to win
Sorry,
the
that
game.
was Friday.
Friday,
Friday
Friday
was the
was the
one.
game that I was just like not straight up not having a good time watching. As Robert Suarez of all people just absolutely struggled in that situation, and they just couldn't stop him from scoring runs. Yeah, it was what 5 runs in the eighth and 3 in the ninth. So
And then the
yeah,
Padres did
man,
the
it's
exact same thing the next night in the eighth inning for
yeah.
them. So if they don't have that collapse on Friday, they split that series instead of losing 3-1.
um,
Like you did, and like they had that one bad inning on Monday. You take that out, who knows what happens on Monday? You go from
yeah.
losing 3 out of 4 to winning 3 out of 4 just on one inning alone. Like that's why every out is so important.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that's the beauty of this game, for better or worse. Like, it's like one half inning can completely change a series. And I do think Friday, if they would have been able to lock that game down and win it, I think that series was gonna go in a completely different way. But it seemed like they were just kind of deflated after that and then spent all their energy on Saturday and just were flat Sunday and Monday and even into the Seattle series. So yeah, I mean, it's hopefully, getting a chance to head out to Arizona. Hopefully, the day off and the rest is going to be something good for this team because at this point, I obviously still have belief that they can make a playoff spot where they are in the position with the teams they're chasing, but at some point they're going to have to wake up, and I think that some point was probably like 2 weeks ago that it needed to happen. So we are definitely in a situation now where they cannot drop games, and not having Joe Musgrove down the stretch is going to be brutal
Yeah.
because that's a big arm that they've been relying on this year. And Rich Hill looked okay overall, except for when they finally started catching up to his pitches. Like the blocking at the plate that kind of changed that inning there, so it could have gone a lot different for his outing. But yeah, man, I just it's going to be really interesting to see what happens this weekend in Arizona.
To be honest, I've kind of like if the Dbacks win, it's cool. I'm not expecting them to. We're ahead of schedule. we were not supposed to be super competitive this year. We are one
Well,
to
and that's what I was telling you is, like, obviously, this sucks for you, and I feel for you,
they
especially with,
got my
like,
hopes
where the
up.
season
That's
has
the
gone.
problem.
But what I told you is at least you're not Anaheim. At least you're not a team that are losing a superstar and are just gonna be in a lot of trouble next year. You guys are built for the future, so it can really only go up from here.
We have a lot of young guys coming up too. So I think a lot of fans, the way we started, they got their expectations up that we could win the division because we were competitive, but I think this is who they really are. It's just a lot of young players, and they're all struggling, and they're all trying to get out of it together, and they're all
Yeah.
pressing. And this is when you see, oh, 6 innings, 3 hits.
What do you think of, Lavello getting that contract extension in June for another year?
They've been doing that every year. They've been giving him 1 year extensions. I don't think it's all his fault, but I don't think
Okay, yeah,
he's
that's what I wasn't getting at that, but that's where I was like, you
no,
don't
no,
think
no.
like
So many
you think
fans are
he's a guy
like,
that can write. Okay.
fire Tor. I'm like, y'all, that's not going to fix the issue. Firing the manager is not going to all of a sudden make this team better. The issue, so he's not entirely to blame, but he's not without fault.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have any pitchers to use outside of two. He has Gallen and Kelly. Yes, we traded for a closure who we have to next year. It's great. His first save opportunity, he blows it in one pitch. That kind of pissed me off. Like, I was like, seriously, you get your one chance. You blow the save in one pitch. You walk the next guy and you give up a home run to the following guy. Not a great start. That was brutal. But that's just the way the Diamondbacks have been all year. Is that bullpen is still not good whatsoever. They don't have anyone that they can count on to get those high leverage outs. That's what they need to fix. Is we need a legit third starting pitcher. I can't believe that they thought going into the season our third best starting pitcher is Zach Davies. What the fuck were you thinking? You're a freaking moron. Like, the man has a rehab start coming up. I don't want him to come up. I'm like, what? I get he's experienced, but he's not good.
Yeah.
He lives on the corners, and when he's not on the corners, he gets torched. He's also a terrible human being. So I don't want Zach Davies
I
back.
I
I'd
root for
rather
his struggles.
do I'd rather just do trial and error with our young guys. At this point, we're kind of at that point. Yeah, could we go and try and play for the wild card? Yeah, maybe we get it, but we're not beating the Dodgers in the playoffs. We're not beating the Braves, even though we did take 2 or 3 from them
I
recently.
will say, and it happened last year, and I think it's going to happen again this year. There's something to be said about playing in that wild card round and not taking a week off and catching those teams off guard. You look last year, obviously with the Padres and Dodgers. You look at the Braves and
Phillies.
Phillies, like yeah, and then I know Houston. I think Houston was the only divisional winner that actually or divisional round bye that actually held home and won their series. But it's like it's one of those things where all you got to do is get in, man. If you get in, you ride momentum, you win that wild card round. You may not have the same talent as a team like the Dodgers, but you're going to play up to them because of the moment.
Yeah, like, you kind of feel bad for the teams in the American League wild card. There's so many teams that if they were in the National League, they'd be in a wild card spot right now. Like, Seattle is 10 games over 500, and they're still a game and a half out of that final wild card because of
Yeah.
how crazy the AL East is. Toronto still, when they don't play in their division, they do really well. But when they have to play a team in the AL East, not good. Like, they are not
Well,
good.
I feel like we were laughing about this with Blake too, but in the AL, it feels like the goal is to be the lowest seeded wild card team because then you're going to get that Minnesota Twins
Minnesota.
AL or Cleveland Guardians AL Central team, and it's like
Yeah.
right now you're looking at Tampa Bay Houston in that first wild card matchup, which would be I mean, obviously, the Rays just had a devastating injury with McCallaghan, like, being hurt, so
Yeah.
that was a big piece for them, but, I mean, that's an ALCS matchup. That's not a wild card matchup, and it just shows the depth that's in the American League as opposed to the National League.
Houston, you can blame Baltimore. Like Baltimore is just you posted that tweet about what Rushman has done since he's come up. They haven't been swept in what was like 75
75 or something.
series. Like that's crazy. Like
Wow.
that is a generational talent. That's more than just he's a phenomenal catcher. Like he helps the entire franchise. If you can just like not get swept, yeah, you're gonna have a winning percentage of 60%. They're at 62% right now. They're almost 30 games over 500.
It's honestly it's awesome, and you had mentioned that you feel like baseball's better when the Cubs, are good. I just think it's good for baseball for a team like Baltimore to hopefully be back in the playoffs, so hopefully they can obviously, they're in first in the East right now, but a lot can happen in a month and a half. I hope they're able to stay the ship and make the playoffs because Camden Yards in the '90s, in the early 2000s, that was an electric place during the playoffs. So I think it's a great venue. So I really hope that Baltimore stays in this thing because they're going to be a really fun team to watch and cheer for in October.
Did you see the news about what they did to their play-by-play guy?
Oh my god. I was like, dude, it's amazing. Like, I mean, I don't if you want to say the
I
story in case
don't
people don't
understand.
know.
So
I truly don't understand what happened. Yes.
I think the owner got pissed that they brought up the fact that Baltimore doesn't win in Tampa, and it's weird. It what I don't understand why
He read the stat on camera. Like
he
he read
read
a stat that was given
graphic
to him.
that not only he probably helped put together, the director, the producers, like why is he the one that gets suspended? It wasn't
It's
it
insane.
wasn't his idea. He's just the guy that read it. Like, and then I
And
think he
it's not like it was bad. It's like it was funny when I first watched the clip. I sat there for a second and I watched it again because I'm like,
I'm like, what's
he
the
didn't.
problem?
What did I miss? And then
He's reading
I watched
facts.
it three more times, and I'm like, okay, is this like a joke? Is this some sort of like fake like news like account thing? I'm like, what is going on? And then, I mean, I think the one really cool thing I saw was like Gary Cohn with the Mets and a couple other broadcasters just voicing their support for him on air, and
There was a
Cohen just
couple
going
trolls.
off. He went off on the Orioles, and I loved it.
There were a couple like trolls from like other games, like Tuesday and Wednesday, just making fun of the whole thing because other broadcasts like this is stupid. Like this is
Yeah,
absolutely ridiculous. That basically an owner is like, yeah, I don't like that you said that, even though it's facts. Like there's,
yeah.
I'm like, you
It's like
should have
next time you just gotta
suspended
say,
the guy that came up with the idea.
yeah. Next time, just say that we've never lost a game in Tampa Bay and that we're actually the greatest team alive, and once hit a home run 9,000 feet. Like just make up stats now going forward.
Yeah. I just thought of this. Another baseball story we had. The Tim Anderson Jose Ramirez fight. That was that Tim Anderson. The guy has
I
as
felt really bad.
many knockouts as home runs. It's one.
He's on my fantasy team. I'm very aware, but I just felt really bad for Mr. Anderson for not only starting the fight but getting the most games suspended and taking
Yes.
a dirt nap like that. That was the most painful part. Is I was like, my man got suspended 3 extra games for getting knocked out. Like,
Because he instigated the whole thing. He's the one that put up his hands ready to go.
I did like once he did that, the ump was just like, I'm just gonna see my way out of this picture. Like he was like, I don't want any of this. But hey, an actual baseball fight, man. Normally it's just like hugging and yelling at each other, but got some swings. It's been a while.
Yeah, it was. It made me laugh when I saw it. I was like, "Oh, this is cool. Maybe people will actually go watch baseball." Um, and the White Sox are a mess. White Sox are awful. Was the story that came out? Kenya Middleton basically said,
Yeah.
"Yeah, the team's a mess." A pitcher basically slept in the bullpen for like a lot of games. And then the story about Yasmani Grandal, like right before the All-Star break, like that whole situation. Tim Anderson, it's not a good look for you right now. Um,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah,
like he's
I did see Lance Lynn. They asked him about it after his start here in San Diego with the Dodgers, and he mentioned, yeah, I heard what he said. He's not wrong. I was there for a long time, and basically like he's not wrong, and I'm like, oof. It's yeah. I've got a buddy that's a White Sox fan. He is very very fed up with this team right now, and understandably so.
yeah. I mean, at least you're not as
Remember,
bad
we
as
were talking about this team as a World Series contender like two,
we
3 years
did.
ago, and it's like
We did.
look at how far they've fallen.
I actually did a preseason baseball betting odds show. And one of the dark horses we talked about was the Chicago White Sox. I kind of want to go back and watch that video, find and see. Because
I'm not sure you do.
um,
Outside of Corbin Carroll being Rookie of the Year, and you just screaming it from the mountaintops, I don't know if you'd want to go.
I felt good with Zach Gallen for Cy Young for a very good part of the season. I don't
Yeah.
anymore because it's going to Blake Snell unless Blake has just an awful last 6 weeks where he gives up a lot of runs. Like if Blake just like Blake doesn't even have to be what he's been doing. He just has to like not implode, and I think it's his.
It's wild to me. It really is.
Cubs fans like to bring up Justin Steele, but they're like, "Oh, look at his ERA." I'm like, that is not a barometer on how good a pitcher is. So I don't like that or like win-loss records is probably one of the worst baseball
Well, Snell
stats.
is 8-8.
That doesn't means nothing. Like if you go back and look, all right, how many runs is his offense giving him? Oh, he's getting 2 a start.
Yeah.
Of course he has to go 6 innings, 7 innings, 2 runs, or else he's gonna lose. It's not his fault that his offense isn't scoring. It's team's hitting coach is a piece of shit. So MVP is not a runaway for Ronald anymore.
Yeah, Freddie's caught him.
Freddie is right on his tail. But if Ronald continues what he's doing, I think he gets it. But it's not gonna be like a landslide anymore.
I think it's gonna be interesting because I mean, it's what's wild to me is if you really like look at it, like you can make a case for. I mean, for me personally, I think you can make a case for 4 players in the National League to win MVP. 2 of them play for the Dodgers, 2 of them play for the Braves. So it's like you
Yeah,
look at what Matt Olson's done this year, like Matt Olson's been insane. And I mean, it's gonna be interesting if somehow like they split votes off of each other. Like, it could open this thing up. But the fact that we're talking about like Matt Olson and Freddie Freeman as like 2 of the MVP candidates, and the fact that they were involved in that trade and it just basically worked out for everyone, like
I mean, no,
unbelievable.
Atlanta, you just robbed Oakland because whatever you gave Oakland, they literally haven't done anything for them. And Matt Olson, basically since he's got there, is like second in MLB in home runs in that time.
Yeah.
Matt Olson, like Braves fans probably thought, oh shoot, we lost Freddie, we're gonna suck at first base. You literally got a guy that's just as good.
Well,
The fact
he's
that
tied with
Freddie has
Ohtani.
like 40 doubles. That's
Yeah.
crazy to me.
Well, I mean, it's the way teams play him, and he's just so good at just putting that thing down the line and just turning
Slap it,
around
yeah.
second. Like, yeah, it's he like I can't stand him for obvious reasons, but like he's incredible to watch bat. Like that's one thing that I do enjoy is like especially when they play the Padres, I get to sit there and watch Freddie Freeman's approach at the plate because it is really good to watch, and he's just one of those guys that if you've got a kid, like you just show him, be like, this is how you hit major league pitching. Like, this is what you do.
Like the man has like just over 2,050 hits. If he can do what he's been doing the last 3 or 4 years and do it for another 6 or 7, I think he has his shot at 3,000.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be like he's gonna have to do it until like he's almost 40.
Which I think he could.
He plays first base, so it's not that difficult. It's not like he has to be fast. He's still a
Yeah.
solid defensive first baseman. That man, I don't know how much longer he can do those long stretches, though. I'm like, you're gonna get in a couple of years. You're like, I'm not making that stretch. Sorry, guys. I'm not bailing you out. So I'm not. Nope. You're gonna have to make those better throws there. We had a no hitter this week. No hitter. I personally don't like. I know technically it's a no hitter. Gave up 4 walks.
How many hits?
0. It doesn't. I Yes, it's a no hitter, but I don't put it in the same category as like the ones where they like like an error or 1 walk type. Also threw 120 pitches. I don't
I was
think
gonna
that's intense.
say, yeah, they call those the different categories a perfect game. Like, dude could walk 9 hitters for all I care. He did not give up a hit.
You mean like
Like, that is
when
impressive.
Jackson did?
It's impressive in any way, shape, and form. And personally, as somebody that worked at Vans for a long time and has a special connection, my man goes out there and throws in his Vans, and I've just always appreciated that from him that he's bringing that flair to the field too.
He's looked
But
phenomenal in his 2 starts
that
for
was his
Philly.
second start. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, what a great trade for the Phillies, right?
yeah. Like no, it's fun. Like since people mocked him for making the AL All Star team, he's played like an actual All Star.
I feel like there might be something to do with joining a winning culture, and it's not that
Yeah,
Detroit's like, but they're obviously in a massive rebuild, and it's a long-term project for them. But I'm sure coming to a place like Philadelphia where you saw them in the World Series last year, sure that gives you a little bit of a boost where it's like, okay, cool. Like I can go out there and just throw my game because I know these guys can score runs. I've got help behind me, so I probably put you at a little bit of more comfort than he's been used to in a long time.
yeah. So I think Philly gets in unless they have a major collapse. I think they get one of those wild card spots for sure. I think they'll be fighting with San Francisco for that first one. I think they both make it in. Um,
What about their team?
I don't even know. Whoever doesn't win the Central between probably the Cubs, Brewers, and Reds. Um, Reds have kind of fallen off a little bit lately. We haven't seen a highlight from Ellie lately.
No.
I mean, we haven't seen
Just
one from.
for the record, by the way, we've got 7 games left against the Giants, and we've got 3 left against the Phillies. Just saying.
Ooh, you got to win all 7 of those against the Giants.
Yeah, but the chance is there.
Yeah. For me, for the Diamondbacks, I have hope that they make a wild card until they're 5 games back. At 5 games, at this point of the season, I'm like, that is a tough hill to climb. And then you got to vault like
You
3
mean
or
four
4.
and a half is tough?
You have a better roster on paper than we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. That is going to be the story of the year. What? Why did the Mets and the Padres, with the talent that they had, not do well? Like, there's just
I think one thing that could be interesting is if the Padres don't make the playoffs and you have 2 teams that spent so much money that flamed out. I think it's going to scare owners and GMs over the next couple of years where maybe
yeah,
they don't shell out multiple contracts. And I mean, that could have an impact on the free agency market. Like there could be ripple effects there. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Like the Mets are 7 out, so obviously, and they basically gotten rid of a bunch of guys, so it's not like they're primed to make a playoff run. But if the Mets and Padres both miss the playoffs, we could see ripple effects throughout baseball for the next couple of years.
yeah. Owners are like, why should I spend $600 million on Shohei? Oh, because he's literally the best athlete we've ever seen in the entire sport. So,
Yeah.
um, Juan Soto, does he sign his extension this offseason or does he play through next year and just be a free agent after.
Shit, I don't know, man. After that quote last night of him saying that it feels like some guys just give up in in the game, like there's something's gonna happen from that because that was such a. Because did you see the quote? I know I've said it a couple times, but I wasn't
Yeah,
sure if you actually saw the quote. Okay, so yeah, him kind of just dusting his teammates like that, like that's not going to go over well. So it's like there was talks last week, 2 weeks ago, that there was contract negotiations ongoing, and they hope to have something taken care of soon. But I mean, shit, if they miss the playoffs, he might not be a Padre next year.
he's like, why? Unless they can like guarantee him that yes, we're gonna address these issues. Like we're gonna get an actual catcher. We'll have someone play first base who's actually supposed to play first base. Um, and I think Xander's just having a down year, and the whole thing with his wrist. It's never been right since like the second week of the year.
Xander's contract is feeling a lot more like Eric Hosmer's every day we live, and especially
Ooh.
as long as they paid him and as much money, like I think we talked about it when he signed. I was like, it's a great deal, but like, why? And especially with what Hassan Kim has done this year, you can definitely say, why is he here?
Hassan. They should just put Xander at DH and put Kim at shortstop because Kim
Well,
is.
they've been having to DH Manny because he's been dealing with a hip and a leg thing right now. So it's like, but yeah, man, Xander's just I hope it's not what I think it is, but it really does start to reek of Eric Hosmer when you look at the contract, the numbers he signed, and just how he's performed this year. I don't think he's hit a ball out of the infield in like 3 weeks.
You know, all of those major shortstops that signed those big deals the last 2 years, only one of them's really living up to it, and that's Corey Seager. Correa's played awful. Turner has not. Turner's turned it around the last few weeks, but he's
Yeah,
still
he's
not.
struggled mightily. Yeah,
He got booed by Philly fans at home.
didn't he hit a 3-run homer like the next night or that night or
Yeah,
something like that?
yeah, he
Yeah,
did.
see, bullying works.
So, yeah, I think like you said, if San Diego doesn't make the playoffs, I think a lot of owners and GMs will be like, why should I sign your guy for that much? It didn't work out for those two. It's
Yeah,
called you
yeah, it's
better have
gonna
a
be
good
interesting.
agent. You better have a good agent that can convince these GMs and owners that these guys are worth it. Like Shohei, I can't wait to see the contract for Shohei.
It's gonna be
I think
600.
it has to be 600 with what he's done this year. It's insane. I love how
Yeah,
how on like a Twitter MLB put like a here's the top 5 guys for AL MVP. I'm like, why y'all doing this? We all know it's going to Shohei,
at least the better
right?
this year. He got, if anything, he should win it based off of last year and this year alone because he got robbed of it last year.
Like Shohei is he could not play another game this year and he still is AL MVP.
Yeah, I'm glad I got to watch him pitch and hit. I didn't watch him hit because he actually didn't get a hit in the 2 games I went to, but I got to watch him in person, so that was an experience.
Shohei, you can go anywhere but the Dodgers. If you go to the Dodgers, I'm gonna be like, oh my god, that team's gonna destroy the Diamondbacks for the next decade with Freddie and Mookie already. I can't handle it being Shohei too. I don't.
It's gonna be the Giants.
Hey, I'm fine with the Giants. I don't hate the Giants. I hate
I'm
the
not.
Dodgers.
I don't want him in the division. What are you talking about?
He's staying on the West Coast.
I know, I know.
If he goes anywhere, it's gonna be Chicago. That's not on the West Coast. I don't see him going to the Yankees or the Mets, even though the Yankee fans thinks it's plausible. I'm like, y'all forget who your GM is?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to the East Coast. I don't think there's a chance that's happening.
Because in terms of being able to market him, they can market him so much better just on the West Coast, just because of the amount of the Japanese fan base that's on the West Coast. Do you want San Diego to go after him?
mean, honestly, it depends what happens with Soto. If they're gonna lock Soto up long term, like, and potentially a Blake Snell, like, it'd be hard to go after him. But if Hader and
Shohei's
Snell are
better than
gone,
both.
well, exactly. If Hader and Snell are gone after this year and they can't re-sign them, if whatever happens with Soto, if he ends up getting dealt in the offseason or something like that, you're looking at this, you know, stack of cash that they would have available that they would have used on those guys. By all means, go for it. And if you remember when he signed with Anaheim, like we were in that. We were in that till the end. And the only reason he really went to Anaheim over us,
DH.
DH.
Yep.
And that's obviously changed. So, it's like there you definitely have to look at the Padres, especially the way Seidler spent money, but who knows if they miss the playoffs this year and he decides I'm done spending money, there's a lot that can happen in 6 months.
I think it was the same thing with the Dodgers. The Dodgers were really close to getting him too, but at that time there wasn't a DH in the National League, and where's he going to play? Left field, right field? Even though he's faster than most outfielders, last time I checked, he was either first or tied for first in triples. Obviously, leads in home runs.
Tied, I believe, with Matt Olson.
Oh, tied now. Okay, so no, yeah, we got. Hold on, how many games we got here? We got 36, 16. We got what 40, like 5 games left this season.
Yeah.
I know for me, I think I did the math last week. Dbacks would have to go like 30-20 to be at like 88 wins, and I'm like, that's not easy.
That's the number too, right? You think 88, like 87, 88 is probably that number?
Yeah, I do. I think you gotta at least be there. 86 maybe, but that's only if like everyone else struggles. But I think 87, 88 is the mark for the wild card. Just based on Phillies being at 64 and San Francisco being at 62 right now.
Yeah, and the Padres would have to go 33-14 in that span.
That is not easy. That's a lot of sweeps. Like that is a win streak that they haven't done this year. That is a 6-7 game win streak, which they haven't done, which is crazy.
I believe they're the only team in baseball that does not have a 4-game winning streak this year.
Yeah, I believe they've
Because
done
the Nationals just got one, so they were the only other team besides the Padres that haven't got one. So things are great. If I hear one more person talk about firing Bob Melvin, I'm gonna lose my absolute mind. By the way, there's a lot. There is a lot of couch managers that are sitting there saying it's Bob's fault, and I'm like, how?
Every fan base like that says that when things aren't going well, they blame the manager. I'm like,
well, if anybody needs to go, it's AJ Preller.
Yeah, Mr. I just trade and spend money. I don't actually help develop players.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting last 5-6 weeks here. I felt really good about the entire pod having all 3 teams in the playoffs about a month ago. At this rate, we're gonna have 1. And Blake's
maybe 1. Hey, some stuff can happen. Seattle's only a game and a half back of that last playoff spot.
How many are they back of them in the division? Oh, they're 3 back in the division. I mean, yeah, you never know. But it's weird because Seattle wasn't exactly a seller, but they weren't a buyer.
Yeah, and they're what 9-1 in their last 10. They just rattled off a great streak right now. It's one of those things, man. It's the thing about baseball. We're not talking about Seattle at all being in this wild card chase, and they were hanging around, but they were just far enough out where we were like, whatever. But now, a game and a half back of that last spot, really have a decent shot at it, to be honest. So.
Yeah, they were basically the same as the Angels for a long period of time, and then Angels went on that bad losing skid right after the trade deadline, and Seattle went the other way.
Yeah.
So Now they're up by 5 games over them. So we'll see how my mood is next week. If I'm still gonna be in a pissed off mood because my team can't score.
Like, one of us has to win this weekend. That's the only positive, is we both aren't gonna lose all weekend. Like, we actually might win games. So one way or the
Yeah.
other, like,
One
yeah,
of
exciting.
our team has to win the series because it's 3 games, so we can't split. So it's a great
Same, boy.
episode. Great episode. We kind of didn't stay on one topic too long. We kind of jumped all around. So hopefully everyone enjoys that. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. All of our socials are in the description box below. See y'all next time.